Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We'll raise our hands up in the air and together loudly we'll call out for the mercy of Sri Sri Radha Golokanda. So please join me. Everyone together, one voice. Hare Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki, Hari Naam Prabhu ki, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. So our next part we are going to have a talk by His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So we request everyone if you can kindly come forward. Please, temple room is already packed and we'll have more devotees come in. So as close as possible, if you can move, then we'll have space for everyone to sit in the temple room. Okay, everyone quickly settle down.
Okay. Good to see everybody.
Everyone please quickly settle down. Maharaj is ready to start. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Nice to see everyone on Sunday. Actually, I just came back from Philadelphia a few hours ago. We had a program last night. It lasted till about 11. Headed for the airport at 2 o'clock in the morning. Arrived here at 8:10. Went to a meeting about the new temple. And here I'm just coming back from the meeting, so. Anyway, somehow or other, we're able to serve Krishna at this advanced age. Because, and the reason we're able to do this is because we're inspired by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who at a very advanced age did or performed miracles by serving his spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. And as we know, that the success potency, for those of you who don't know, that's Lakshmi. You're all interested in Lakshmi, right? But you are actually, most of you are interested in Maya Lakshmi. That's the problem. Maya Lakshmi is reflection of Lakshmi and known as Durga. Because if you're interested in Lakshmi, success, without Vishnu, you don't get the real Lakshmi. You get Chanchala. Chanchala means, that's a name for Lakshmi, flickering, sometimes here, sometimes not here. So if one is serving Krishna, then one really has fortune. Now, fortune doesn't mean money. There's many people with a lot of money who are very unhappy. And you see all these rich people, they have to have therapists. You ever heard of the therapist? Everyone talks about their therapist. I have a therapist, Radhagolokananda. You can go to Radhagolokananda and talk to them about your issues. Maybe not about your arguments with your wife. That wouldn't be appropriate. But your struggles in life like that. So the interesting thing is, I've experienced that if one serves Srila Prabhupada's mission, then one can actually transcend the bodily consciousness of life. Now, oftentimes in Bhagavad Gita, we hear that one is not the body, right? This is one of the first messages that we're chanting. Komarham javanam jara tatante hatara paptir tatra namuyate. We're changing bodies from one lifetime to another. So yeah. So we are changing bodies, and that's the basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness. But how do you become detached from this changing of bodies, from the, let's say, the reverses of this material energy? How do you realize you're not the body? By realizing what you are. And what you are is an eternal servant of Krishna, an eternal servant of Krishna's pure devotees, such as Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So somehow or other we're realizing that, Krishna's providing some energy when we're engaged in Srila Prabhupada's service. So we're here after practically no sleep at night. But anyway, so please tolerate if I fall asleep while I'm talking to you today. So let's chant Jai Radha Madhava, and then we'll have a brief talk about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam and explain to everyone the benefit of actually distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, sponsoring the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam, especially at this time of the year. This is the time of the year surrounding the day called Bhadra Purnima. Now, it's a very special time of the year because if you give Bhagavatam or sponsor Bhagavatam during that time, you pretty much guaranteed yourself success in spiritual life. Of course, I'm not advocating, okay, sponsor Bhagavatam, and then you go to a bar afterwards. That's not what I'm advocating. But if you basically keep yourself clean throughout this lifetime and chant the Lord's holy names, you're going to get special mercy from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When I was a young devotee, if I could say I was a devotee, my primary service was distributing Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada, other books of Srila Prabhupada. We would go out on something called traveling Sankirtan. Anyone's heard of that before? That means you get in a van, and at that time there were basically almost no temples to stop at, no people to cook you opulent prasadam. You basically had to eat halava and sweet balls for 2 weeks. Of course, that kept us going. So, and we would distribute Srila Prabhupada's books from 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night every day. Then you say, that's a lot of time. But when you're living in a van, you don't have anything else to do. And there were no, hold a second, there were no mobile phones at that time. Were the dial-up telephones and whatever, and you had to pay at a pay phone, and it was pretty expensive to call someone at another place in the United States. So what did you have to do? You're just there. You can't really spend all day long cleaning up your van. So we look at ourselves, at each other, after taking prasad, and we say, what are we going to do now? Hit the road, distribute Prabhupada's books. So I remember during that time, we would come back after a full day of distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books, and we would be shivering in ecstasy. And I'm not saying I'm such a great devotee, but the statement of the acharyas is that even if one is not such a great devotee, even if one is not a devotee, one can experience spiritual ecstasy by coming in contact with an ecstatic kirtan or recitation of the Bhagavatam. That's amazing. Even if you're not a devotee, even if you're Ravana, Rakshasa, if you happen to distribute a Bhagavatam, you'll become ecstatic. So we were so ecstatic after distributing Srimad Bhagavatam that we couldn't sleep at night because we were shaking in ecstasy, seriously. And we would listen to Prabhupada's classes and music at night and just be crying, literally crying. Can you imagine? I mean, who here doesn't want to experience ecstasy? Raise your hand. No. So we're going to give you a method. Of course, Aditya Narayan Prabhu is going to give you the method later on. But we're going to speak a little bit about Srimad Bhagavatam. Not only the benefit of distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, but what Srimad Bhagavatam is. Just very brief. And then we're going to talk about a personality who brought Srimad Bhagavatam to the Western world around this particular day. Now, in the Vedic calendar, it says that Prabhupada arrived in Boston yesterday, the September 13th. Or there's the Vedic calendar, Western calendar, but there's another date, September 17th, in the Lilamrita. So I'm not sure which one is the Vedic, which one is the Western date. But in any case, around this time, after spending 35 days in a boat, in a steamship, not a cruise liner with a swimming pool and race car driving like they have nowadays, but in a steamship, Prabhupada arrived in Boston Harbor. And what I'd like to do later on is share Prabhupada's poem called Markandeya Dharma that illustrates Prabhupada's dedication to his spiritual master, dedication to Srimad Bhagavatam, and extreme humility. So first we'll chant Jai Radhamadhava with that brief introduction. Jaya Radhamadhava Kunyabiyare Ramadhava Kunyabihare Jaya Radhamadhava Kunyabihare Gopiri Janabalabha Girivadudhate Gopi Jana Balabha Girivadudhate Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachare Yamuna Tera Vanachare Jayo Radhamadhava Kunyabihare Jaya Radhamadhava Kunyabihare Gopi Jana Malabha Girivadudhate Gopi Jana Girivadudhate Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasunanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jayo Radhamadhuba Kunjabihahuti Jayo Radhamadhuba Kunjabihahuti Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravitakacharya also Tata Satachi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chana Goswami Shikhan Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyam Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagadada Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Paramananda Hari Hari Bol. All glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees. Oh, glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Jinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Devatarane Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Om Ganata Miranda Shah Gananjana Shlaya Chakchuram Medita Asmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual masters, Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So today's class is about Srimad Bhagavatam and the benefits of distributing Srimad Bhagavatam. And so we're going to start with the origin of Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, this is not exactly the origin of Srimad Bhagavatam. But for those of us who read the present edition, this is pretty much the origin. The origin of Srimad Bhagavatam happened at the time of creation. And that's when Lord Vishnu spoke to Lord Brahma from the heart, and he spoke to him, actually spoke out loud, 4 sentences. And these 4 sentences contain the very essence of the Bhagavatam. The first one is that Ahameva Sameva Agre. Before the creation, there was I, the Supreme Personality of God. During the creation, there's I, the Supreme Personality of God, not I, Lord Vishnu. And after the creation, Lord Vishnu said, then I continue to exist. And then within these 4 nutshell verses, which I'm not going to give a class about the 4 nutshell verses, Krishna describes what illusion is. To see anything, to see anything without a relationship to him is Krishna's illusory energy. So based on these 4 verses, the Bhagavatam was expanded to the present state of the Srimad Bhagavatam. But in the present day and age, we're familiar with the story that Srila Vyasadeva, now the word Vyas means to divide. He divided the Vedic literature. Originally, there was one Vedic literature. People were very, very intelligent. So they didn't need a lot of explanations. They could hear a simple statement and understand everything just from a simple statement. Like the Vedanta Sutras like that. So Srila Vyasadeva divided the Vedas into four, and then he composed other literatures, the Upanishads, and then what we call the Itihasa. Itihasa, literally, well, not literally, it can be translated, thus it happens. That means histories. Now, the Vedic histories are not precisely chronological. Someone may say, why aren't they chronological? Because in the Western world, we learn all these dates, isn't it? Like I was born, obviously, in America. Unfortunately. Wasn't born in India. So we learned in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. All these. You ever hear that before? And, of course, he died from some disease after breaking the regulator principles, but that's another issue. These were not great heroes. So you learn about all these different dates, and you have to memorize them too, right? And what's the use? But Bhagavatam and the Vedic literatures, they're interested in the Itihasas. They're interested in teaching people the essence, the important things in spiritual life. Because it really doesn't matter what year Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Does it? It doesn't matter. Who cares? Some mundane historian will just waste his time talking about things like that, analyzing things. But we're interested in basically the purpose of life and the lessons we can learn from history. Because as they say, those who fail to learn history, history repeats, they make the same mistakes over and over again. So that's why we study history. But the Vedic history is not a history of mistakes. Now, some of the modern Indian history is a history of invasions, terrorism, and everything like that. That's not Vedic history. Vedic history occurred many, many thousands of years ago. So Srila Vyasadeva, in order to present the Vedic understanding, he compiled the Itihasas. Itihasa basically means Mahabharata and Ramayana. And there are other Itihasas too, but those are the two prominent Itihasas. And also the Puranas. So when he compiled, especially the Mahabharata, he thought, this will actually attract people in the age of Kali because, people like stories, don't we? Everyone loves. Arjuna is my favorite hero, isn't it? I like him more than Krishna. Is Krishna a hero? He's God. He can get away with anything. How can you call him a hero? Anyway, because of Yogamaya, he's a hero. So, but Arjuna, fighting, surrendering, wow, it's so exciting. So Arjuna is exciting. Bhimsena is very exciting, right? Duryodhana is even exciting. And so, what happened with Krishna? Arjuna, Bhimsena, Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, what a cool cat. Oh, sorry. What a... Isn't it? He had the strength of 10,000 elephants. Did you know that? 10,000 elephants. Wow. What does Krishna do? He just plays the flute. So, I know. I'm trying to be a devotee. So, he had the strength. 10,000. So you have all these interesting characters, and you're just thinking, what happened to Krishna, because you don't have so much emphasis in the Bhagavatam and in the Mahabharata. You get confused. You're thinking, who's God? You really don't know. I mean, of course, you have the Bhagavad Gita, which is contained within the Mahabharata, but it's a small part of the Mahabharata. Most of the Mahabharata is these really cool stories. And so Srila Vyasadeva was feeling dissatisfied because he had compiled the Mahabharata and people were being encouraged in the name of religion to actually think materially, because they became attracted to material things or just a story without understanding the purpose. The whole purpose of the story is, even in the Bhagavatam, is to teach you something so you can apply something in your own life. Like the story of Prahlad Maharaj, it's so you will understand the benefit of surrendering to the Lord, how the Lord is protecting you, how the Lord cares for you, how chanting his holy name will connect you with him. That's the benefit. You know, I watched that movie, Maha Avatar. Everyone seen that movie? Yeah. I think that was the only time I've gone to a theater in the last 50 years. No, actually 30, 40 years. We walked into the theater. It was a multiplex. I said, what is this? I just remember, you go into a theater, there's one screen, and, and that's about it. It's multiplex, so many screens, oh my God. And Nrsimhadev is playing on every screen here. No, not every screen. So anyway, we saw that movie, and it's very inspiring. It's right from the Bhagavatam. You learn many lessons. You apply them in your own life. And Bhagavatam is meant to reform us. But the Mahabharata, you get very confused. Of course, if you know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you can understand the import, the purport of the Mahabharata, right? So Vyasadeva was feeling really disturbed because he had not accomplished the purpose for which he had sent out. And what was that purpose? For the conditioned souls in the age of Kali. Stri Sudra Trijabandhunam. That means all of us. Because everybody in Kali Yuga, Kalo Shudra Sambhavat, everybody in Kali Yuga is born as a Shudra. You may have the name Trivedi, Chaturvedi, Univedi, Novedi, whatever. But Sharma. Yeah. Just like I was talking to one of my friends today, he said, not a Brahmin name. He said, I'm a Singh. I said, okay. He said, I'm a Kshatriya. I said, okay, I'll listen to you. So, you have all these different names, which is interesting. Actually, even in the Western world, you sometimes have names that indicate your Varna, like there was someone named Fisherman. So anyway, so in Kali Yuga, just about everybody is born as a Shudra, unless you have the proper samskara bhavet vijam. And in Kali Yuga, the only samskara is Krishna Nam Sankirtan that works. Did you know that? The chanting of the holy names. Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan. Ekon Dharma. One Dharma. Krishna Nam Sankirtan. Now the yugas, different samskaras. I mean, we do the different samskaras, but all the samskaras that we do, whether it is Santyeshti, Namakarana, or Garbhadan, whatever samskara, that samskara has to be accompanied by what? Harinam, the chanting of Harinam, or it is not effective. Right? So anyway, basically everybody in Kali Yuga is born as a Shudra, unless they take up samskara bhavat vijam, the chanting of the Lord's holy names. So Vyasadeva was feeling very despondent because he hadn't presented things properly, because as residents of Kali Yuga, we misunderstand everything almost, unless someone just like leads us by the nose and points out the truth, right? It's like that. Like you see, there's so many temples from India around, and some people say, this person's God, that person's God, I'm God, we're all God, there's no God. Sorry. That's my Italian side. So we talk with your hands. Anyway, so isn't it? There's no God, everything's void. Everyone has their different opinions. Oh my God. Yeah, oh my God. So anyway, so everyone has their different opinions about things. And you go to the Mahabharata, and you could come to all those different opinions. Unless you have someone who guides you through the Mahabharata. Even in the Mahabharata, there's the statement. What is that statement? You know the verse? Targo. Okay. Tarko Patisha. You cannot understand the absolute truth. You cannot understand, the purpose of life simply by argumentation, logic and reasoning. You cannot understand by studying the Vedas because there's so much information about different things. Mahabharata is like that. And the absolute truth is hidden in the hearts of the great sages, right? But if you follow in the footsteps of the Bhagavats, now here I'm talking about Bhagavat means persons and the Srimad Bhagavatam. You follow in the footsteps of Srimad Bhagavatam and the person Bhagavat, that it means the pure devotee of the Lord, like His Divine Grace says, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, then you can actually understand things. Otherwise, not possible. That's why it gets so confusing, all these different temples and churches and philosophies. And oh my God, which one is the right one? Before I came to Krishna consciousness, I studied so many different literatures. Bhagavad Gita, not Prabhupada's translation. Of course, the Bible, the Quran, Sufi stuff, all this different stuff. And basically nothing struck me, nothing made sense to me. Then I read one sentence in Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and everything becomes clear. It's amazing, isn't it? That's Mahajanayena Gata Sabhanta. You follow in the footsteps of a great devotee. So getting back to the story, because we were going to talk about Bhagavatam before time runs out. So Srila Vyasadeva was feeling very disturbed. And because he was feeling very disturbed, at that appropriate time, his Guru Maharaj came. Who was his Guru Maharaj? Narada Muni. Narada Muni sometimes waits until someone's really disturbed. They come. There's a story in the Bhagavatam. There's this one person, Chitraketu. He was so attached. He wanted to have a son. Astrology said, you're not supposed to have a son. He insisted. All right, I really need it. And then he married, it's described, 10 million wives. Wow, that's a lot, isn't it? How do you pay for all the saris, It's just bewildering, Me, I'm just happy being a sannyasi. I don't have to pay for any saris. What a relief, Anyway, so in order to do something, it wasn't his fate. He tried his best, got the blessings from this other sage, Angira, who blessed him to have a son named Harsha Shoka, happiness, distress. And then he got distressed because that one son died prematurely. And I'm not going to describe how he died, but he died. And then when he was in distress, who comes along? Narada Muni. So that's really the point. One has to become a Kinchana Gochara. That means really understand, wow, I don't know anything. That actually happened to me. Not Narada Muni didn't come. No, I'm not that good. But Prabhupada came. I was in so much distress studying all these different literatures, trying to figure out the purpose of life. And then two things happened. I got Prabhupada's book. And then another thing is I heard Prabhupada on the radio. You all heard that story before. And because I was in distress, ready, Krishna, I surrender. Of course, I didn't say Krishna. I said, God, I surrender. What is it all about? Okay, Hare Krishna, like that. Okay, thank you. So Narada Muni comes at this time too, because Vyasadeva knew what it was all about, but he hadn't presented it properly in a way that we would properly understand the truth. So Narada Muni does something the spiritual masters used to do, chastise his disciple. Used to do. Now it's just, Guru Maharaj, can I call someone for mediation? Yeah. Conflict resolution. Isn't it? It's not, now it's just, pretty please, would you like to do this, my dear disciple? How much do I have to pay you to do this? So in those days, the guru would come and say, you know, basically, you're on the wrong track. You're convincing people or giving people the impression that attaining material things is actually the goal of life. And so he said, you should compose the Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam, of course, is the Paramahansa Samhita. It is the greatest of all the Puranas. And the Bhagavatam is very explicit about the purpose of life. So Narada Muni instructed Srila Vyasadeva, and Srila Vyasadeva sat down in mature meditation and compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam, seeing the Lord's pastimes. Now you may say, how did he compile it? Did he have his computer? Did he Google, Krishna? What did he do in Vrindavan? No. Srila Vyasadeva had spiritual television. Prabhupada said that a pure devotee has spiritual television. He could tune in. This is what's coming for all of you if you become pure devotees and distribute Bhagavatams. How do you like that edition, Ryan Prue? So, so it's a paid advertisement. So if you distribute this knowledge of Bhagavatam, then you will get a spiritual television. You won't have to go to the movies anymore. You'll be able to see Mahavatar every night. In 3D. Like I know it's in India, it's in 3D, so I'm going to India just to watch it in 3D. So you'll see it in 3D, virtual reality, whatever you may call it. You'll be there. And one day you can, you don't have to wait for the next episode. Parasuram, Mahavatar Parasuram. You can see Parasuram without getting killed by him. You can see him. You can see Krishna dancing. Playing it, you will hear Krishna's flute. Isn't that nice to have that spiritual television? Wow. So that's how Srila Vyasadeva, that's how Srila Vyasadeva was able to perceive these things. He was able to see the Lord's pastimes and relate it. And we know he related it to who? Shukadeva Goswami. And Shukadeva Goswami, when he heard about the Lord's pastimes, he became so renounced that he didn't even hang around after he was born. Of course, he spent quite a few years waiting to be born. Some people say 16 years. There's different stories like that. But it's a long time. I mean, I guess his mother was really pregnant after that period of time. So he stays around, and he runs away And Vyasadeva, Srila Vyasadeva, acting as a responsible grahasta, wants to take care of his child, right? So he says, "Oh, my son! Oh, my son!" And Shukadeva Goswami was so absorbed in the Bhagavatam, he didn't even pay attention to his father. Imagine it, your father says, "Oh, my son, oh, my son," and you just run away. I mean, Indian culture, that's not really that good. Try that with your father. So he runs away, and just to pacify his father, he creates a duplicate, clone. Duplicate Shukadeva Goswami, so his father can take home someone just to be happy with, So Srila Vyasadeva takes home this duplicate Shukadeva Goswami, and the actual Shukadeva Goswami, he is so absorbed in Krishna's pastime, just hearing them while in the womb of his mother, that he doesn't want anything to do with anything except for Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. You understand? And of course, the Vishnu Smaranam, of course. And he wants to preach Krishna consciousness, and basically people think that he's uneducated and whatever because he's walking around without any clothes. But he's so pure that even when he runs by a whole bunch of ladies bathing in the river, they're not disturbed because they can see here's a transcendental personality. Of course, his father, Vyasadeva, was also transcendental, obviously, but he was acting as a grahasta, so the ladies got upset when he walked by. So then Shukadeva Goswami goes to the assembly of these sages where Maharaj Parikshit is fasting to death. And it's taking 7 days, been cursed by the Shringi to be bitten by Takshaka. Actually, and the Mahabharata describes that Takshaka had a lot of animosity towards the Kurus. There's a whole history of that. Because Arjuna, when he destroyed the Khandava forest, he actually burnt Takshaka's wife and kids up. Did you know this? So obviously, Takshaka is really going to try to get even with the Kurus, with the Pandavas, like this. So, anyways, Parikshit Maharaj is fasting for 7 days, and Shukadeva Goswami comes there. And even though he's the youngest person, like 16 years old, everybody recognizes his exalted spiritual position. Because the sages, what do they say? It takes one to know one. So the sages are all great devotees, and they could see also by his physiognomy. Does everyone know what physiognomy is? There's a new word for you. See, you're not so educated. So physiognomy means his physical characteristics. There's certain physical characteristics that really are there in someone who's a special personality from the spiritual world. Like the proportions of his body. His eyes like lotus petals. Everybody here has round eyes, beady eyes. But I don't see any lotus-eyed people here. So eyes like lotus petals, the hands, when you're standing up, reach to the knees, all these different signs of a great personality. So they could recognize that. And Shukadeva Goswami explained the Srimad Bhagavatam, the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, to Maharaj Parikshit in 7 days. And as we described previously on Radhastami, he didn't specifically mention Radharani. He didn't specifically mention Radharani because he was such a great devotee of Radharani. Some of the acharyas describe that Shukadeva Goswami was previously the parrot of Srimati Radharani. So he couldn't say her name without being in ecstasy. So pure devotees are like that. They experience ecstasy, but they don't want to manifest the ecstasy to the general public. So anyway, he spoke to Maharaj Parikshit, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he spoke about many different topics. one of the topics mentioned in the beginning of the Bhagavatam are what's called the Dasha avatars. Dasha avatars means there's many incarnations of the Lord. Let's preface it by that. But these are the 10 most well-known incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there's as many incarnations, Bhagavatam says, as there are waves in the ocean. Unlimited. Atoms in the universe. Even more than that. Atoms in the universe, waves in the ocean, whatever it may be. So he describes these avatars to Parikshit Maharaj and explains in simple the Vedic philosophy, because the Bhagavatam actually explains the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita in great depth. If you want to understand the Bhagavad Gita, like, for example, last verse in Bhagavad Gita. What is it? Not last verse, but the last chapter, 1865. 1866. Sarvadharmam purijaja mamekam sharanam braja ham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayashami masuchaha. So how do you know what that means? Or how to do it? Krishna says, surrender unto me. Okay, let me fight and kill my brothers, like Arjuna. Doesn't mean that. And so Bhagavatam describes how to fulfill the purport of the Bhagavad Gita. And in doing so, he presents it in a wonderful form, just like the Mahabharata has stories. But the Bhagavatam stories are arranged specifically not to confuse you. You can't misunderstand the Bhagavatam stories. Because not only do we have, fortunately in ISKCON, and also in many other great heritages, we not only have the Bhagavatam, we have the elaborate commentaries ourselves of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, so we can explain, understand things very, very clearly. But the Bhagavatam itself is very clear. Like you have here, you have the story of Chitraketu. What does it mean that you're not the body? So here you have a story of someone, that we mentioned Chitraketu's story before in class, but a little boy who died prematurely. And then Narada Muni brings him back to life. And he basically preaches to his father. So, very, very interesting story. Now, if you just tell people philosophy, you're not the body, it's hard to understand that. Or, let's take the story of the 5th canto of Bhagavatam. If you tell someone they're going to hell. Sorry. And then the 5th canto actually describes what it means. It's not just some vague fire and brimstone like in the Christian theology, you know. And then Bhagavatam in the 6th canto describes how to get out of that situation. Tasmat sankirtanam Vishnu jangan mangalang angasam mahatam apikoravya vijakantika nishkratam. Simply by chanting the Lord's holy names. So that's the picture here. A Jamil saved by the holy name. And Gajendra saved by, well, surrender and also the holy name. I mean, he was chanting prayers in glorification of the Lord. That's Sankirtan too. So he was doing Sankirtan. So we learn this transcendental wisdom through stories. And anyone can understand these stories in Kali Yuga. It's very, very, very easy to understand this. And it is also verified. The Bhagavatam stories are also verified, and the Bhagavatam philosophy is also verified by great personalities, especially Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Yuga avatar of Krishna, who taught Krishna Nam Sankirtan. And there's also scientific information there. You find the development of the embryo there, a concept of time. Also, there's information about the atom. I mean, so much information came from India, and a lot of it is compiled in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so, scientific discoveries. And you even have vimanas. that are described in the Bhagavatam. Isn't it? Using technology that we're not even aware of to this day. And also, you have that nice person, Shalva, nice person, who had this invisible airplane that could not be seen by radar. You know, nowadays we have this, isn't it? What's that, the B-2 bomber? Yeah, it's the B-2 bomber. You don't know these things? Your whole life is useless. Stealth technology? Huh? Does anyone here know what stealth technology is? Raise your hand if you know what stealth technology is. Okay, good. A few of you are educated here. That means planes that could not be seen by radar. You know, bombers. So this personality, Shalva, he had an airplane that could not be seen by radar. But Krishna had better things than radar. He was he's able to shoot it down. You know, he's bombing Dwarka with this stealth technology. So, in other words, you had technologies that we're just discovering now or will not even know about until we become Krishna conscious. So amazing information in the Bhagavatam. It's good for children. You have Prahlad's teachings. Every child can relate to that. Like when their parents start chastising them. Narayan, Om Namo, Narayan, Om Namo, Narayan. Any young children? Yeah, just try that. If your parents want to give you some instructions and Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Don't you listen to me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Lord Nrsingadev, please take care. No. No, you don't. Sorry I'm too humorous, yeah. And so you learn to take shelter of Krishna's holy name, how Krishna's protecting you, Krishna's maintaining you. And from Dhruva Maharaj, these are just some examples. There's so many examples in Bhagavatam. From Dhruva Maharaj's story, you learn someone so determined, because he was determined to have a great kingdom. So that's another message of Bhagavatam. Whether you akama sarvakama moksha karma dharati tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether you're free of material desires, full of material desires, or desires of liberation, worship Krishna. Because ultimately, you'll realize all these desires were not really important. And you'll just say, you know, I was looking for some pieces of broken glass, like Dhruva Maharaj said in the Haribhakti Sudaya, and I found a wonderful gem. So you learn that there's Vedic role models, isn't it? These are role models. I mean, I like Narada Muni. He's my role model. Prabhupada is my role model. You're talking about Prabhupada coming to the Western, oh my God, it's almost time. Prabhupada coming to the Western world. Here's someone who's so dedicated to the service of his spiritual master that unwilling to undergo so many austerities. I mean, that's a hero. Isn't it? Nowadays they have these stupid things called stupid heroes. Sorry. Thank God Gopal's not listening to this class. They, you know, isn't it? They have some, whatever, power. And they're not heroes. Heroes is someone who risks everything for a higher purpose. That's what a hero is. You know, risks everything. And Prabhupada risked everything. He was in Vrindavan, enjoying, absorbed in Krishna's pastimes. And he risked everything to carry out the order of his spiritual master. A soldier. Prabhupada said during the final days, give me the benediction of dying on the battlefield. You know, so that's a hero. That's really a hero. Or Arjuna, he's really a hero. But Prabhupada is really a hero. So these are our role models. We get all the, and in Bhagavatam we get all these role models too. And for children, there are role models, Vedic role models. I mean, Dhruva is such a nice role model. And even Hanuman's a role model. Of course, he had superpowers. He was really a superpower person. Or Kim Purusha. That's a person. But Hanuman's power, what was his power? His dedication. You could say his power was he could fly with the Sanjeevani in the mountain and everything like that. His real power was his dedication to Ram and Ram's name. That is his superpower. And Hanuman, in spite of being so powerful, was always just ready to carry out any order that Ram gave him. Even to the point that Ram told him to remain, Ram, told him to remain in the material world after he went back to the spiritual world. Such dedication and love. So, that's an amazing role model. Not the strength, but the dedication. Because when one is dedicated to one's worshipable deity, one gets great strength. Very, very important. And of course, the Bhagavatam teaches us some Sanskrit. Here's our Sanskrit guy over there. What is it? Veda Vada Rata. So anyway, I tease them. The people who have a closer relationship with me get teased more. So you can tell he's a close relationship. So, because I know I can get away with anything. So you can learn Sanskrit from the Bhagavatam. And of course, our Bhagavatams are published by the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, which is Srila Prabhupada's heart and soul. Prabhupada's heart and soul. Prabhupada was dedicated to this. That's why he woke up at 1 o'clock. Of course, Prabhupada never slept, but he got up at 1 o'clock in the morning or even earlier and translated until he gave Bhagavatam class in the morning. Every morning. To give us this Bhagavatam. And that's what he carried from India. Basically, the holy names, faith in Krishna, and the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's it. No money. No warm clothes. No credit cards. Just the Bhagavatam. Amazing. And so we have all these different programs which Aditya Narayan will tell you about, like the Motel Gita. And, we, by distributing Bhagavatams, it actually helps finance the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, because the BBT gives all of the extra money that comes from the distribution of Bhagavatam, the Vedic Planetarium. So we have other programs. We place books in prisons, and we go to hospitals and place books, and also in India, in the villages. There'll be a picture of that in a second. Libraries in different villages in India, and of course amongst the underprivileged people like ourselves in North Carolina. Bhagavatam sets. So the Bhagavatam is Krishna's incarnation. There's 12 cantos, and 18 books in the set. I think there's a little bit different number now than this. And the different cantos are sometimes considered different parts of Krishna's body, beginning with what? The lotus feet of Krishna. And 10th canto is what? Lotus face. Lotus face of Krishna. And so Bhagavatam it's like a medicine. You start with the feet and work up to the face, and then you can understand Krishna's pastimes. And of course, I think there's a special discount today. I don't know if that's the actual price. Aditya Narayan Prabhu can tell. What's the special discount today? $225 today. Sign up today. Time's running out. 10, 9. 8. You see on the internet sometimes they have this countdown. So this is the opportunity today. So thank you very much. That's the Srimad Bhagavatam. And do I have time to read Prabhupada's prayer? I'm just so inspired because when Prabhupada arrived in Boston Harbor, that's where he went through customs and immigration. He composed this prayer in Bengali, and of course I'm not going to read the Bengali. I'm going to read the English. So, whoops, that's the wrong one. Hold on a second. Here it is. Joaquin Bhagwat Dharma. Just the English of that. And you see Prabhupada's abject humility and dependence upon the message of the Bhagavatam. It's not that long, actually. Maybe it is a little longer. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Here we are. Not Nugaloka. I mean, I just came back from the Newark airport, a few hours ago. And coming back to Nugaloka is just like, I've gone back to Godhead, basically. The comparison and the vibration, the atmosphere, oh my God. You can't compare it. It was just unbelievable. So Prabhupada, because Prabhupada was sophisticated, cultured, and here he is entering the land of the uncultured, unethical, to carry out the mission of his spiritual master. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. They do not know how they will. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. But I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible, because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? Oh Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. All living entities have come under the control of your illusory energy by your will, and therefore you like by your will they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them, and because it's Prabhupada's desire, we're actually being delivered. Therefore, if you desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. The words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation. And that's what Prabhupada came with. These books, Bhagavatam, in these trunks. And if a sober person, actually have one of the Bhagavatams, the original Bhagavatams, in my house. And if a sober person repeatedly receives it with submissive all reception, then he will be able to understand your message. And then there's actually a translation of the Bhagavatam, verse 1 to 17 to 21, which I'm not going to read because there's not a lot of time here. He will become liberated from the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion, and thus all the inauspicious things accumulated in the heart will disappear. But how will I be able to make them understand the message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, very humble. Prabhupada is very humbled, which is the price of Krishna Prema. Unqualified and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. O spiritual master of the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, it's a Bhagavatam, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord. Make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA. Here it's 18th of September, 1965. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay. Amazing. So, you have a question? Yeah, one question. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Many of the Puranas are not very clear. Yeah, yeah. Many of the Puranas are many. Yeah. Why didn't he write the Bhagavatam right away? In other words, is the question. Okay. Yes, because he was attempting to be merciful and try to appeal to everyone to bring people back to the Vedic literatures. Just like you have Krishna's statement in the Gita, Trigunya Vishaya Veda, that the Vedas mainly deal with things other than Krishna consciousness, mainly deal with the three modes of nature. Now, why do they deal with the three modes of nature? Because they're trying to approach people to gradually bring them to the right platform. But in Kali Yuga, what is it? Manda, Sumanda, Matayo, Manda Bhagyo Bhadraja. People are so unfortunate, short-lived, and very short-lived, they don't have time to come to the right platform. They have to, get a shortcut. Bhagavatam is the shortcut. Because the other Vedic literature, yes, they're good. We don't decry, criticize, minimize any of the Vedic literatures. That's an offense to do that, of course. But we understand their purpose. As Krishna says in the Gita, bring them to him. So the other Vedic literatures have some purpose to have people accept a higher authority and to gradually come up. So that's why. So everything he did was with the right intention. But, in Kali Yuga, it wasn't the most effective strategy. Just like we do things. I mean, I do things sometimes and I say, well, that's not the best strategy for accomplishing my purposes. So let's think strategically. So that's really what was happening at that particular point. And it's also Yogamaya. Vyasadeva is a pure devotee, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And these are the pastimes of the Lord, the pastimes of Srila Vyasadeva and Narada Muni. And then also, people desire to forget Krishna. Krishna gives the intelligence as that if you want to forget Krishna, Krishna will give you full intelligence, parts of the scriptures you can read, so you don't have to surrender. I don't want to surrender. Okay. Then I can follow Charvaka Muni. Does anyone know who Charvaka Muni is? No? Here's some more new information for you. Charvaka Muni was the original, what we call Epicurean. Like nowadays in America, what do we say? Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you may die. So he said, beg, borrow, or steal. Get yourself some ghee. Ghee. G-E-E. G-H-E-E. You remember that before you used to cook with oil? There used to be ghee, but now you want to save money in your cooking, But Prabhupada said, ghee is for the inside, oil's for the outside. Anyway, so here's someone from the Vedic tradition, and you have all the different darshans. Like you have Kannada Rishi. I'm not going to go through the different darshans. Isn't it? All these different philosophies. India is full of philosophies. Really interesting philosophies, but they're really, if you take to them, it's reciprocating with your desire either to forget or remember Krishna. Krishna will give you intelligence and you'll get attracted to a certain person according to your modes of nature and according to your desires. I mean, why do certain people worship Ravan? I mean, even there was one, oh my God, even there was one temple many years ago in India where they were worshiping an American politician who shall remain nameless. I don't know why people do things. That people attracted to different things according to their desires. But if one chants the holy name, one will be attracted naturally to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. One will come to the mode of goodness, transcendental mode of goodness, and be attracted to Krishna. I mean, who is more beautiful than Krishna? Who is more attractive than Krishna? Who is more powerful than Krishna? I can't think of anyone. Like Prabhupada would say, that if you can think of someone else who is more beautiful, more qualified than Bhagawan, than Krishna, then mention him and we'll worship him as God. We'll be happy to do that, but you have to come up with someone concrete. So we don't find anyone, isn't it? We just don't find anyone. Okay, I think it's time to end because our sponsor has something to say about the book distribution. So anyway, so all glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay.
Hey Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for such a wonderful presentation on the glories of Bhagavatam. I mean, each point so convincing, step by step, explaining the entire glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Just hearing this presentation, everyone will be like, yes, Bhagavatam, this is the highest. So let's express our gratitude to Maharaj for such a powerful presentation on the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Everyone together, Hariva! His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. Maharaj in the starting of the class was explaining how they used to go out for book distribution. Morning 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. going out. And how Maharaj explained that after coming back, you just don't want to sleep. You cannot sleep. There's so much ecstasy, so much happiness, so blissful. This is a glory. And Maharaj said, this is the way. We distribute Srimad Bhagavatam, we take Srimad Bhagavatam, we share it with others. This is the way. Our ticket is guaranteed back home, back to Godhead. So actually our name of our global campaign is Go to Goloka. Go to the spiritual world by distributing Srimad Bhagavatams. So we have our goal for our temple, New Goloka, is 200 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. 200 sets. So imagine 200 sets that will actually fill maybe half of the temple room. 200 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's our goal. So the goal starts just before Janmashtami is when the Bhadra campaign starts. And then last week was Bhadra Purnima. So during this weekend a few more days, and this is when we call it, okay, this is our final count, right? So many devotees have gone out, distributed Srimad Bhagavatam. Janmashtami, so many people came. People took Bhagavatam. Many of you have sponsored Bhagavatams or taken a set of Bhagavatam. So as Maharaj was saying, so we have a discounted price of $225 just because of this special time. So you can receive a full set of Bhagavatam for your house. That's the first option. Second option, if you already have a Bhagavatam, you can gift a Bhagavatam to any friends, relatives, cousins in US or in India. So if you want to gift a Bhagavatam, let's say to someone in Andhra Pradesh, right? We can actually place a Telugu Bhagavatam at their place, And the sponsorship for India is $150. In US is $225, but anywhere in India Bhagavatam goes is $150. And also with that $150, if you feel that, Maharaj at the end he showed the slide where villages in India are actually getting a full set of Bhagavatam. We are actually placing them either in the main school or the panchayat, where the whole village will have access to Srimad Bhagavatam. So you can actually sponsor a village in India to receive Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So these are the options. So devotees have been, many of you have come forward to sponsor. So right now, we are, 200 is our goal, right? So we are close to 185 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. Riva! So very close to our final goal. And we want to make a wonderful offering. We set a goal, we want to reach our goal and make that as an offering to Srila Prabhupada, Sri Sri Radha Golokananda. And everyone here, you can actually help us reach this goal. Only 15 sets. Yeah, there are so many devotees here. So you can either take a set, you can sponsor a set, gift it to your relatives, to your cousins, or sponsor a village in India. Right? Haribol! Mata, you would like to do one more set. She already did 2 sets. She's doing one more. Let's give a big Haribol. Haribol! Anyone else would like to raise your hand? Yes, Prabhu. For a village in India? Oh, you'll take one set. Okay, let's thank Prabhu. He's going to take one set of Srimad Bhagavatam. Haribol! One set of Bhagavatam. Haribol! Let's thank Anand Prabhu. Thank you. Anyone else? So we got 3. We're getting close. 3 sets. Come on. Anyone else? You can sponsor a village in India or take a set. This is the opportunity. This is the final part of our campaign. So please help us. Take a set. Bless yourself. Bless your family. Bless other people by distributing Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyone else would like? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Anyone else? Vamshi Gopal Prabhu. Oh wow, he did last week 2 sets and then this week 2 more sets of Bhagavatam. 4 sets. Haribol! So wonderful, so wonderful. Anyone else? Yesterday actually few devotees, we went out just door to door in a community and we were actually showing them Bhagavatam. And it was so ecstatic. It was like special mercy yesterday. We were just going to a door and just random people, we were just showing, we talked about the Bhadra campaign, we talked of glories of Bhagavatam, showed them Bhagavatam. And just in one community, we distributed yesterday, just imagine, just in few hours, just going door to door, in one community we distributed 11 full sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. Haribol! So it's amazing that people just at the door, they don't know about Bhagavatam, they see the set, they see the books, they are like so impressed by Bhagavatam, they said, for sure, we are going to take it. Right? Okay, Mata, you would like to do 2 sets in India. Haribol! 2 sets, yes. Thank you, thank you. Haribol! Anyone? Village in India, come on, entire village will be blessed with Srimad Bhagavatam. Imagine. There's actually a story, a video which I can share, a village in Gujarat, where they praise Bhagavatam, inspired that he said, let's read Bhagavatam together. So evening, he used to just sit in the main village area and read Bhagavatam. And